Hello, dear viewers. You are on the channel where the scariest and most mysterious stories come to life. True events, dark legends, and fictional tales that will send shivers even down the bravest spine. Every story here is a journey beyond the ordinary. If you enjoy fear and the unknown, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to leave a like so you never miss a single story.
Today I will tell you a story that never let go of my mind. This is more than a tale, it's a tragedy that left families searching for answers, and the deep sea keeping its secrets. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like. Stories like this must be remembered, so the pain and courage of those lost are never forgotten. He always loved ships and oceans, and in the summer of 1949, he finally earned a place as a deckhand on the freight ship Córdoba. His name was Mateo, a quiet but ambitious young man, eager to see the world and send money home to his waiting family. He remembered boarding the vessel at dawn, her hull looming against the pink sky, ropes coiling like sleeping snakes on the dock. He saw his mother waving from shore, anxiety in her eyes, while his father tried to look proud and strong. He sailed out through calm waters, the other sailors boasting, laughing, and hiding their own fears with dirty jokes and stories of storms. He lived for the fresh salt air and the endless horizons, believing nothing could go wrong with a crew so experienced. He noticed the first sign on the third night, an engine shudder, metal groaning deep beneath the decks as the wind picked up. He asked the chief engineer about it, but the old man only shrugged, muttering about Córdoba's age and bad luck at sea. He felt the mood on board shift, laughter replaced by nervous glances, as lightning forked over black waves on the horizon. He heard that one sailor had refused to sleep below deck, convinced the cargo hold felt wrong since their last stop at San Telmo Point. He tried to ignore superstitions, but those nights the ship creaked and moaned like some living, wounded thing. He lay in his bunk, listening to whispered prayers from the men around him, everyone suddenly very religious as a storm built outside. He watched rain lash the deck, the sky flashing white, and worried about the rumors of old sea curses and doomed vessels. He remembered his father's warning, the sea has no mercy for arrogance, but he always thought fear made a man weak. He was posted on night watch when the first unexpected wave struck, slamming the ship sideways and tossing men out of their bunks. He gripped the railing, knuckles white, as hail the size of pebbles rained down and the captain screamed new orders from the bridge. He saw rigging snap and cargo shift, barrels rolling loose and water pouring through cracks in the hatch. He shouted for help, but the wind smothered his voice, and the deck became a chaos of falling ropes and broken crates. He tried to secure a lifeboat, heart racing as another wave crashed over, tearing it loose and sending it spinning into the Black Sea. He watched a crewmate disappear under a wall of water, reaching out but unable to do anything except remember his name, Miguel. He struggled to reach the emergency radio, hoping to send a message, but the power flickered and the radio spat only static. He saw the captain, face pale and lips bloody, ordering men to the pumps, but the water level kept rising as if the sea was winning. He fought to save the ship, hands raw and eyes burning from salt and sweat, refusing to give in to panic. He heard a groan deeper than thunder, the hull buckling, rivets popping, the ship fighting one last losing battle with the storm. He lost his footing as the deck pitched hard port, the world tilting sideways, loose crates and bodies sliding in the darkness. He prayed harder in those minutes than ever before, the memory of his family burning behind his eyes. He saw oil lamps shatter, flames sputtering before hissing out, and wondered if that meant hope was gone. He watched the first mate cling to a broken mast, curses drowned by howling wind, his eyes wild with terror. He reached out for the emergency life raft, hands slippery, feeling the tug of men behind him also desperate for escape. He felt the ship lurch again, everything around him groaning as would split and the cold sea exploded upward through the broken deck. He tasted the salt spray, coughing as he tried to find air, light and darkness flickering as lightning split the night. He managed to throw himself into the water, cold biting like knives, and grabbed hold of torn canvas from the ruined raft. He floated for what felt like hours, waves tossing him high then crashing him low, the Córdoba slipping beneath the black water in silence. He searched for survivors, shouting into the wind, but the only answer was the slap of waves and distant thunder. He saw wreckage everywhere, crates, barrels, jagged planks, and the terrible emptiness where the ship had been. He remembered every man aboard, their jokes, their stories, now gone, pulled down into the deep with no graves but the sea. He spotted a single lifeboat, overturned, with nobody clinging to its side, and realized how truly alone he was. He clung to hope, thinking of his home, picturing dry land, but the storm showed no mercy, rolling waves endlessly. He felt exhaustion pressing on him, the weight of wet clothes and heavy heart almost too much to bear. He whispered his mother's name, begging for strength, blinking away tears that mixed with freezing rain. He sang every song he could remember, desperate to keep fear and darkness at bay, his voice shaky and raw. He noticed the sun starting to rise, orange streaks on dark waves, and told himself that daylight would bring rescue. He watched the storm rage itself out, wind slowly dying until the sea was only heaving, gray and endless in every direction. He counted each minute, mind drifting in and out of memory, images of old friends, childhood, and home flickering by. He saw a gull circle overhead and thought it was a sign, but the bird was just as lost as he was. He squinted at the horizon, willing a ship or a plane to appear, but the world stayed empty and silent. He spotted a barrel floating nearby and grabbed it, grateful for anything to help him survive a little longer. He began to lose track of time, sun and waves blurring together, thirst burning his throat and skin stinging with salt. He remembered survival stories, men lasting days at sea, and promised himself he would not give up, not for his mother or father. He watched as night fell again, darkness closing in, unfamiliar and terrifying, every sound louder, every shadow more threatening. He dreamed of home, about the smell of bread, the laughter of siblings, the warmth of a kitchen, everything he now feared he'd never see again. He woke to the burning sun, lips cracked, skin tight and hot, delirium creeping through his mind like a fog. He saw shapes on the horizon, blinking hard to be sure it wasn't his imagination. Finally, a small fishing boat coming closer. He waved and shouted, putting the last of his strength into a cry for help, as the men aboard spotted him drifting. He collapsed as rough hands pulled him into the boat, their voices distant at first, then sharp and urgent, shouting for water and blankets. He woke days later, safe in a small village hospital, surrounded by unfamiliar faces and the smell of medicine and hope. He learned he was the only survivor of the Córdoba, the sea claiming every other crewman, their families left waiting for sons who would never return. He told his story to anyone who would listen, haunted by memory, swearing never to forget the men lost beneath the waves. He carried survivors' guilt his whole life, the weight of so many names carved deep into his heart. He returned every year to the shore where he last saw his mother and father, leaving flowers for every soul drowned by the unforgiving sea. He tried to make peace with what happened, but the nightmare returned every time rain lashed his windows or thunder cracked the sky. He wrote letters to the families of those who were lost, sharing memories and small comforts, doing what he could for those left behind. He avoided the ocean for years, but eventually stood at the water's edge, letting the tide wash over his feet, whispering a sad prayer. He became a steward of sailors' stories, warning young men to respect the power of the sea and remember those it claimed. He shared his story for them, the brave, the foolish, the frightened, because to be remembered is the only way to defeat forgetting. Until next time, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and remember, the sea always keeps its secrets, but we must never forget its lessons.